determined to get 2,000 Australian quality artisans on the Made It waitlist while our doors are closed, and we're not taking on any new artists at the moment. Here's an update on where we're at. We have gone over the 400 mark. We are at 417 people on the waitlist, which I am so excited about. It is amazing. But today I want to go into a few different things, just talking about I guess the portion of reset that you need when you're doing a 30-day sprint, but also the 3 elements that I believe make any business successful. And they're a bit of a twist, which I don't think you would have heard before. So look, let's dive in. First and foremost, so today is intended to actually be my day of reset. So even though I'm on a 30-day sprint, I also know that if you want to avoid burnout, you actually have to give your days the time to reset. And I've been on struggle street with it today. I'm not sure how you get to with this, but I am obsessed with what I do in a workspace. I'm obsessed with building this community because A, it is amazing. The artisans, you that are part of the community, are just so awesome that it always really excites me to go, well, how can I do better? How can I make the platform better? How can I make it better for all of us to be able to grow and succeed? So being at home today for part of the day and trying to resist the temptation to jump onto the computer has been absolutely real. So we're about to head out. We're going to go out on the water, which will be nice. And I always find that I can reset when I'm in the water. So I guess for you, like, what's the way that you reset? And do you actually know when you need it? And do you know how to plan for it? Because one of the things that I think that you want to be able to do in running your own business is understanding what are the times that you need to reset and what can you do in advance in order to be able to give yourself the space to reset. So last night, actually might have been early this morning. So I was on the computer for just a little bit, but because I have to track and measure, right? That's the one bit that I'm non-negotiable on. But I was like, right, I'm going to take Saturday and Sunday to completely reset off the computer. What can I put in place? Now, for us, of course, as the platform, advertising is a big part of what we do. And so I bumped up the advertising a bit to ensure that while I'm not driving the engagement and driving the content, that organic content, even though still doing the lives, I said that to Jeff, my partner. I was like, I'll have a bit of a rest today. And he's like, is this before or after you do the 2 lives? I was like, interesting. But yeah, I guess it's about what can you do in advance to plan for it. And so that's where you can have some of that planned content as well. But I also think there is such a fine line between automating and scheduling and for it losing its soul and losing its energy as well. And I think that when too much stuff is automated, it actually, it doesn't have the same vibrancy. It doesn't have the same frequency, right? And I really do think that people can tell that as well. And, or maybe it's just that I can tell it. Like, I know when I've posted something when it's like, I haven't been there at the time when it's actually been posted. I had from a workshop I did recently, and they'd sent a really clever email out, email automation. And I was like, I had to take a double take to see whether or not it was actually from the person, because it was like, oh, I think your name popped up and I'm sure we might have met or da-da-da. And I was like, oh. And so I responded literally saying, hey, I thought, what a great email. Now, Brona's saying, I feel I don't have the general. Oh my goodness, I've got to get used to this live because the comments are very quick and then they disappear as well. But if you want to put it again, Brona, I'll be able to see it. But yeah, so I responded to the email and then he came back and we had a sort of discussion and then linked with him on LinkedIn, and it was very clear that it had been automated or done by someone else that wasn't him. And I was like, oh, that was a bit of a line crossed for me, that I was like, oh, there was such a great opportunity to connect and actually deepen at that point. And it was broken by that lack of transparency. Now, in the live this morning on Instagram, we spoke about authenticity, right? Transparency to me is different again, right? And transparency is like, don't make things up, and there's ways in which you can create and tell stories, but it's different. Brenna's saying, I don't have the same genuine enthusiasm when filming and posting separately. I totally agree. I totally agree. And it's why for me that I've chosen to do the lives for this session, for these 30 days as well. Now, I wanted to talk to you about, I'd mentioned at the beginning that there's 3 key elements that I believe are the baseline and the success for any business. Now, these are something that I've come up on my own. So you can take it or leave it, but it's based on the fact of the experience that I've had in my businesses beforehand, where they haven't been a success, but also in my last company that I successfully sold, and we were turning over 8 figures, so it was a big business. And there's 3 things that are needed. And for me, I knew that when one of these fell down, that it was time for me to leave the business. So the 3 elements are connection, energetics, and mechanics. And I just want to go into them really quickly because they might be relevant to you and might bring up something that you can think about over your 30-day sprint as well. And look, the first one I'm going to go into is energetics. And I know you hear me talking about energetics all the time, but it's really real. And this part consists of 2 parts. It's first and foremost, you as the owner of your business and how you show up, and your energy matters. And that is about the frequency. It is about the vibrancy that you have in your business. But the second part to energetics is the belief that you can achieve the goals that you want to gain or get to, right? So with this 30-day challenge for me, with getting to 2,000 artisans on the waitlist, I honestly wholeheartedly believe that I can do it. The only thing that I have like a little thing is like, yes, but can I do it in the time frame? We'll see. I'm pretty sure I can, but we'll take it as it comes. But that's the first part for me, which in any business is that when you are able to show up with the frequency that shows the other 2 parts as well, but also that you have absolute belief in what you're doing, that's a really key part. Now, these 3 elements, right? Connection, energetics, and mechanics. The idea is that if you're aware of them, you'll be able to see where you've got gaps, and so that you can focus in on those areas. So for me, energetics is generally a bit of a tick. Now, when I sold my last company, it was because I knew that my energetics had changed. My personal energetics had changed within the business, and I knew that it was time for me to leave. It was not at all part of my plan. I honestly thought it was a business I was going to be in for a lifetime, but something happened, something changed, and I went, oh, little small intuitive voice that said it's time. And anyway, I followed that. That's for another day for that story. But the next one is mechanics. Now, mechanics is all about your skills, knowledge, and systems. And so when we're talking about like for a handmade artisan business, right? Of course, your skills with creating your products, but also your skills from the business aspect. Now, that might be with social media creation. It might be with social media engagement. It might be with the bookkeeping. Oh my goodness, never my best friend with bookkeeping. It just seems so unnecessary, even though I am actually quite good at it. But also the systems, and what are the systems that you have in place? So, you know, when we're talking about if you're going to have that time to reset in your business, then what are the systems that you have in place in order for you to be able to take the time to reset? So for me, that's probably one of the areas where there's a gap. And I think also when it comes to running Made It, is that we're a tech platform. I'm not a tech coder. I'm not from a technical background, although in my previous company, I was head of digital and head of marketing, and I love technology and I love digital. So I can lean into it, and I have the knowledge that means that I can lead that space. But for me, I know that that's an area that I can always be improving in the business and bringing that knowledge in that I have throughout my network as well, and bringing on the right people for the job. Now, the last part is connection, and connection comes in 2 parts. It's connection with your audience, and it's also connection with your business. And you might want to say with your business, but also with your product as well. So maybe it's 333s that it's easier to remember it as well. But that connection that you have with your business and with your product and with your audience are so important. Now, when we're talking about sales, sales is connection, right? If you don't have a connection with people, then you're not going to be able to make those sales as well. Look, that's what I believe anyway. Of course, there'll be a portion of sales that come in, but really, truly, when you get over that connection aspect, it changes everything. So anyway, look, this is a theory that I've come up with, and it's around business alchemy, and it's about having all of these three elements in place. And once you can actually get them humming and spinning in a process, right, it's like this beautiful cogwheel that just starts to turn and move in fluid movement. And all of a sudden, it's like you don't have to be constantly pushing it to make it work. So that's my theory on the three elements that you need for your business. So I'm interested for you, if we're talking about connection, energetics, mechanics, which is your zone of genius and which is the zone that you possibly need to do more work on, right? For me, energetics and connection, absolutely my zone of genius. I've got parts and mechanics which I excel at really well, but I definitely know where those gaps lie. That's where I lean into learning. Yeah. And so even though I'm in marketing, I'm obsessed about marketing, and I love the way that it creates connection, I also know that that's where I've got the greatest potential to be able to unlock things in the business, in this platform, in this world, for you, for me, for us, right? So look, this was just a really quick one. I'm going to pack snacks and nibbles for the afternoon. Michelle was saying same. But let me know where you're at and what are the zones of genius for you, but also let me know where you are on the challenge. And remember, if you haven't started the challenge already, the day begins again today. As Brona had told me that her label name, Lanua Crafts, actually means new day as well. So I love that. But today is a new day. Today is a new day where you can also start the challenge. So I hope you're coming along. We've got 25 more days to go. 26 today, 25 tomorrow. Anywho, I'm going to work out a better way to say the countdown, but have a wonderful Saturday wherever you are. We've got some beautiful sunshine, so I'm looking forward to getting out there and enjoying it. Have a wonderful Saturday night. Bye.